The Crimson Spectre. Port Halos was a halfway star. Not bright enough to matter, not dark enough to hide. It hung on the edge of civilized space, a neutral zone between galactic powers where trade was thick, tempers thin, and secrets ran deep. When she arrived, everything stopped. The docking bay lights flickered. Traders froze mid-transaction. The scent of ozone and scorched metal filled the air as the boarding ramp of the obsidian vessel hissed open. Out stepped a figure wrapped in blood-red armor that shimmered like it remembered every war it had ever survived. Her name whispered across the comm channels within minutes. Seraxa of Threx. Every species in the galaxy knew that name, though most pretended not to speak it aloud. The Threx Empire had been gone for 40 cycles, shattered in the fires of civil war. But some wounds don't close just because the blood stops. And Seraxa had been their war sister, death priestess, last blade of the throne. Now, here she was, alone, standing in the middle of Port Halos. The authorities didn't try to arrest her. The smart ones knew better. The rest just backed away slowly, pretending not to see her. She walked with the deliberate grace of someone who expected to be feared and was never disappointed. She made her way to the Winking Star Tavern, a grimy, low-ceilinged den where traders, bounty hunters, and black market brokers rubbed shoulders. The music died when she entered. A pair of drunk Zervans dropped their glasses. Even the bartender, a grizzled old Vortal named Grax, took 2 steps back and muttered something about his insurance policy. Seraxa sat in the darkest booth in the back, alone, her cloak settling around her like smoke. No one approached. No one dared. That was 3 days ago. She hadn't left since. Jack Reeve didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in poor judgment, broken contracts, and second chances. Most of all, he believed in ignoring the rules everyone else clung to, especially when those rules smelled like cowardice. He just returned from a short haul to Tavari Prime, hauling cryo beans and solar relays for barely enough credits to cover docking fees. His ship, the Doghouse, was older than he was and rusted around the edges, but it had never let him down. Unlike most people, Jack walked into the Winking Star with a tired gait, a dusty jacket, and a face that looked like it had argued with gravity more than once. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was looking for Bay, and that's when he saw her. Even if you weren't up to date on Galactic War history, you couldn't miss her. The air around her shimmered with a low-frequency hum that prickled against the skin. Her eyes glowed faintly violet. Not the pretty kind of glow, more like a distant lightning storm, wrapped in mourning and vengeance. The entire bar was pretending she didn't exist. And that pissed Jack off. He hated bullies. He hated people who acted like someone's presence was an infection. And more than anything, he hated the kind of fear that turned sentient beings into statues. So he grabbed a drink from the bar, a dark ale, local brew, half flat, and walked across the room like he didn't care if he got vaporized. The silence followed him like a shadow. He reached her booth, looked down at her glowing eyes, and took a sip from his glass. "Seat taken?" he asked. For a moment, she didn't answer. Her gaze scanned him like a targeting system. "You are human," she said slowly, her voice low and resonant, with an accent that felt ancient and sharp-edged. "Last I checked," Jack said. "Name's Reeve. Jack Reeve." Another silence. She tilted her head slightly, assessing, but not hostile. "Not yet. You are either incredibly brave," she said, "or pathologically stupid." Jack grinned. "That's a popular debate, actually. Mind if I sit?" She nodded once, barely. Jack slid into the booth, the leather creaking beneath him. Across from him sat a being whose reputation could make planetary governors weep, and he acted like he was on a bad Tinder date. "You've got a hell of a reputation," he said, taking another sip. "Most folks clear out when a Threx shows up." Her lips curved, barely. It wasn't quite a smile, but it wasn't a snarl either. "There are no Threx left," she said. "Only ghosts." He raised an eyebrow. "Funny. You seem pretty solid for a ghost." She looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "And yet you sit," she said finally, "when none others will. I've had worse company. Sat across from a Zahn executioner once. Tried to sell me a plasma rifle with blood still on the handle. Did you buy it? Hell yeah. Best rifle I ever owned. That earned a flicker of amusement in her eyes, so brief it could have been imagined. But Jack saw it and filed it away. You're not afraid of me, she said. Nope. Why? Jack leaned forward. Because you're not here to kill everyone. If you were, you wouldn't be sitting in this dump waiting for someone to talk to you. You'd already have blown a hole in the station and walked out with the lights still flickering. She blinked, slowly, then nodded. You are correct. Jack tapped his glass against the table. Then here's to being right. She didn't raise a glass, but she didn't tell him to leave either. They sat in silence for a while, two relics from different wars, sharing nothing and everything in that pause. And somewhere in the bar, the fear shifted. No longer a force field. Just a question. Who was this human who dared approach the Crimson Spectre? And why hadn't she stopped him? The woman of war. Seraxa remembered the sound of cities dying. It was not the thunder of weapons or the collapse of buildings. It was quieter. The silence that followed. A planet-wide hush. Unnatural. Absolute. When the last scream faded and no one remained to echo it. That was what she carried. Not scars, not trophies. Just memory. She had not spoken of Threx to anyone since the war ended. Not even to herself. The last time she'd tried, the words had stuck in her throat like ash. Yet here sat a human, slouched in the booth across from her, drinking cheap ale and talking like she was just another patron in a bar. And somehow, she didn't want him to leave. That confused her more than the war ever had. Jack Reeve had returned the next day, and the next. No weapons, no body armor, just the same half-ironic grin, a new drink, and a fresh barrage of questions. He didn't probe too deep, didn't push. He talked about cargo runs, the awful food on deep space freighters, and once told her a joke about a Saurian diplomat, a psychic goat, and an exploding toaster that made her blink in genuine confusion. When she didn't laugh, he just grinned. Tough crowd. Now, on the fourth night, Seraxa finally asked the question that had been circling her mind since the moment he first sat down. Why? Jack paused, mid-sip. Why what? Why do you speak to me? He looked around. The bar was mostly empty tonight. A few grizzled haulers, a sleeping bartender, and one nervous VEC engineer pretending not to watch them. You're sitting alone. Everyone's terrified of you. Felt rude to let you drink by yourself, he said casually. I have caused the death of billions. Jack leaned back, unfazed. So have supply chain errors. Doesn't mean I shouldn't say hello. That stopped her. He said it without flinching. No reverence, no horror. Just human bluntness. Like he'd looked her reputation in the eye and shrugged. You truly do not fear me, she said quietly. Jack studied her. His voice dropped a little, the joke fading from his tone. I've seen monsters, Seraxa. Real ones. They don't talk like you do. They don't sit still and look like they're trying not to break everything they touch. You're not a monster. You're just tired. The silence between them thickened. She turned away, gaze fixed on a spot on the wall that no longer existed. You do not understand what I am. Then tell me, Jack said softly. And so, she did. The Threx were never meant to last, Seraxa said. We were born of conquest, raised on obedience. Our minds were trained to bend, not break. I was bred in a genetic vault, engineered for clarity, precision, violence. At 9 cycles, I could dismantle a reactor with my bare hands. At 11, I led my first orbital purge. Jack didn't speak, just listened. My people built an empire that stretched across 31 systems. But we were hollow. We ruled through fear, not unity. When the fractures came, it was only a matter of time before the cracks split wide. She clenched her fists. My own bloodkin turned against me. I did what I was ordered to do. I cleansed the traitors. I killed my sister. I watched my world burn so the Empire could live. She looked up at him, eyes glowing softly in the dim light. And in the end, there was no Empire. Only me. Jack nodded slowly. Sounds like someone else screwed up long before you did. Seraxa blinked. You would absolve me so easily. No, he said, but I don't condemn people who were built in cages. She leaned forward, studying him. You carry something too. A shadow behind your eyes. Jack's face didn't change, but something in his posture tightened. Yeah, he said quietly. We all do. Later that night, after Jack left, Seraxa stood by the viewport at the edge of the station. Stars burned quietly beyond the glass. She thought of her homeworld, Tyrol, the burned soil, the empty towers, the silence. And the thing she still carried, the Heart of Threx. Not a weapon. Not exactly. More like a shard of possibility. A power core containing the genetic memory of her people, the military codes, their cultural blueprints. A rebirth capsule. If activated on Threx soil, it could revive the Empire in digital form. Every system, every strategy, every weapon. It had only one key. But if she activated it, the galaxy would ignite again. The next night, Jack brought 2 drinks. He slid one across the table to her without a word. She stayed at it, then reached out and took a sip. It tasted like smoke and copper. She didn't hate it. Tell me something, she said. Why did you leave your war? Jack didn't answer immediately. Cygnus Incursion. Earth Defense Fleet. I was part of the orbital drop units. We landed in the middle of a red zone. My squad, 6 good people, were taken out in under 5 minutes. Seraxa waited. I made it through the next 3 days alone. Ground to orbit evac. Carried one of them on my back the whole time. She didn't make it. He stayed at his drink. After that, I didn't feel like a soldier anymore. Just someone who knew how to survive. Their eyes met. This time, the silence wasn't empty. It was shared. You have the look of someone who lived through fire, Seraxa said. And you, Jack said, have the look of someone who walked out of it carrying something heavy. She didn't deny it. He leaned forward again, his tone quiet but certain. Whatever you're here for, you don't have to carry it alone. Seraxa tilted her head. That would be unwise. Probably, Jack said. But wise has never been our species' strong suit. For the first time, her lips curved slightly. Not a smile, but close, beneath the armor. Jack Reeve wasn't sure when the boss stopped pretending Seraxa didn't exist. Maybe it was the 3rd time she let him sit at her table without vaporizing him. Maybe it was when she reached for the drink instead of ignoring it. Or maybe it was when a pair of bounty hunters walked in, saw her, and immediately walked out. He noticed the shift like you notice a storm breaking, slowly, then all at once. Now, every time he entered the winking star, the room buzzed with low-grade tension. Some patrons watched them with curiosity, others with resentment, a few with naked fae. Jack didn't care. He was more interested in the woman behind the legend. Tonight, she surprised him. You will ask me what I carry, Seraxa said, eyes fixed on the drink he'd brought her. Jack blinked. I was going to ask how your day went, but sure, let's skip to the heavy stuff. Her violet eyes lifted. I carry the Heart of Threx. Jack set down his glass. That sounds both poetic and deeply alarming. It is neither. It is a device. Still alarming, then. Seraxa sat back, her posture unnaturally still. After the fall, our Central War Council encoded our Empire's essence, genetic archives, battle doctrines, artificial command intelligences, into a self-replicating core. A failsafe. I was entrusted with it. Why? Jack asked. Because I would not hesitate. I had proven that. Jack nodded slowly. But you haven't used it. No, she said. The heart can only be activated on Threx soil. I left it buried beneath the old capital. And now, I'm going back, she said, to destroy it. Jack whistled under his breath. That's a hell of a long trip for closure. I had no intention of surviving the journey. Silence fell like a dropped blade between them. Jack looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the cracks behind the armor. Not physical ones. Older, deeper. You were going to go alone. Yes. Jack rubbed the back of his neck. What if it's not just your decision? You said that thing could rebuild your empire. She shook her head. It would rebuild the war. The Fae. The tyranny. Not the people. Jack leaned in. So let me get this straight. Everyone in the galaxy thinks you're about to unleash hell, but you're actually trying to bury it for good. Seraxa's eyes narrowed. You say it like it's noble. It is not. It is simply necessary. Jack took a long drink. That's what all noble things are, when you strip them down. Word of their conversation spread through the station like radiation, silent, invisible, and dangerous in large doses. Some aliens muttered that the human was being manipulated. Others insisted he was trying to steal Threx secrets. More than one envoy from nearby systems filed diplomatic complaints. Port Halo Security issued a formal advisory. Do not approach the Threx subject. Any species violating this order does so at their own risk. Jack read the warning over his comm screen, snorted, and showed up to the bar 5 minutes later with a snack tray. Thought you might be tired of drinking your calories, he said, sliding a packet of fried protein spirals and a Terran jerky bar across the table. Seraxa looked at the tray like it might detonate. You are ignoring the advisory, she said. Jack shrugged. I ignore most things with official letterhead. Besides, you're not exactly the talkative assassin type. Her voice was low. You do not know what I am capable of. I've got a good idea, he said. Thing is, you haven't done it. Not to me. Not to anyone here. That counts for something. She stared at him, something unreadable flickering in her gaze. I killed a world, she said. Jack didn't flinch. You told me. I was 19. He exhaled slowly. I was 19 when my squad was wiped out. A pause. Then he added, I still see them. Every night. Her expression didn't change, but something in her posture softened, just slightly. I cannot change what I have done, she said. Jack leaned forward. No one can, but you can change what you do next. Later that night, outside the tavern, a tall, scaled figure stepped out from the shadows. A Vaughn diplomat in sleek gray robes blocked Jack's path. You do not know what you are doing, the Vaughn hissed. That creature is not a woman. She is a virus wrapped in skin. She destroyed 3 colonies during the collapse. She was bred to erase entire bloodlines. Jack didn't blink. Yeah, she told me. The Vaughn looked startled. And you still sit with her. She's not that person anymore, Jack said. The Vaughn's eyes glittered with rage. You think your human arrogance makes you immune to history. No, Jack said, but it makes us good at rewriting it. He walked past, leaving the diplomat fuming behind him. In her quarters, Seraxa stood before the cracked mirror above the basin. She'd taken off the crimson armor for the first time in weeks. Her skin bore the faint circuitry patterns of Threx augmentations, symmetrical, flawless, deadly. She traced one with her fingertip. She had never let anyone see her like this. Exposed. Vulnerable. But Jack's words haunted her in a way Blast of Fire never had. You can change what you do next. No one had ever told her that. Not as a soldier. Not as a traitor. Not as the last of her kind. Not even herself. The ultimatum. Port Halos had seen threats before. Raiders, smugglers, even full-scale military interventions. But never tension like this. It wasn't loud. It wasn't explosive. It was the kind of silence that filled every corridor, every docking bay, every whispered comm channel with the same question. Why hasn't someone stopped her yet? The fear had been manageable while Seraxa stayed still. But now the galaxy sensed movement, rumors of her preparing to leave the station, of ancient Threx power stirring in deep space, and of a human, walking beside her like a partner. Someone decided it was time to intervene. Jack didn't expect to see Colonel Delrook again, let alone outside the doghouse's airlock. He recognized the old Earth defense insignia before the man even turned. Still flying this rust bucket, Reeve. Rook said, arms crossed, face as hard and dry as ever. Jack sighed. Still working for the Galactic Council. Colonel. I consult, Rook said, when things get delicate. Jack leaned against the hull. Let me guess. I'm the delicacy. Rook's eyes narrowed. You've been sitting across from a walking war crime for a week, and now your ship's flagged for potential unauthorized departure. With her. Don't insult me by pretending it's innocent. She's not what they think. She's exactly what we think, Rook snapped. The last survivor of a genocidal regime, in possession of a data core that could resurrect one of the most dangerous empires in galactic history. She's trying to destroy it. And you believe that? Jack looked him in the eye. Yes. Rook didn't speak for a moment. Then, quietly, that woman glassed 4 cities on Raction Prime. I saw the footage. She didn't blink. Jack nodded. She told me. She's not hiding it. And you still trust her? I do. Rook's jaw tightened. Orders came through this morning. The council wants her detained. If she resists, they'll use force. Jack straightened. That's a mistake. It's already decided, Rook said. You have one chance. Back off. Walk away. We'll clean this up without you getting court-martialed again. Jack smiled without warmth. I'm not in your chain of command anymore, Colonel. No, Rook said, but they'll still burn you down with her if you stand in the blast. Jack found Seraxa in the observation dome overlooking the main asteroid ring. Alone, cloaked, still as stone. You were followed, she said, not turning. Yeah, Jack replied. Old acquaintance. Told me the council's going to move on you. Soon. I expected as much. You don't seem worried. I am not. Jack exhaled. You should be. She turned to face him. They will never understand. I carry something they fear. Not because it is dangerous, but because they know they would use it if they had it. Jack nodded slowly. You still planning to go back to Threx? Yes. Tonight. Then I'm coming with you. She stayed at him. No, you're not doing this alone. It's not your burden, Reeve. Jack stepped forward. Then let me help carry it. Her voice was sharper now. You don't owe me anything. I'm not doing it because I owe you, he said. I'm doing it because I believe you. Because I believe you trying to stop something worse. And because if you go down there alone and something goes wrong, the whole damn galaxy is going to make up whatever story suits them. He paused. But if I go with you, and I come back, maybe they'll listen. Seraxa was silent for a long time. Then, finally, she said, it's not safe. Jack smirked. I flew into a Cygnus killfield with nothing but a pulse rifle and a box of grenades. I think I'll manage. She tilted her head. You're relentless. Yeah, he said. It's a human thing. They returned to the doghouse under cover of dark cycle. Jack ran a final systems check while Seraxa stowed a compact black case in the ship's internal vault. Is that it? He asked. She nodded. The Heart of Threx. Jack stayed at it for a second. Smaller than I expected. It carries an empire, she said. Size is irrelevant. The comm panel chimed. Jack frowned and answered. Rook's voice came through, low and serious. Reeve, we see your ship warming up. You're violating a council restriction. Power down now. Jack leaned forward. We're going to destroy the data core. That's all. That's not your decision to make. I disagree. A pause. Then, if you launch, you will be declared rogue. Your citizenship revoked. Earth won't protect you. I'm not asking her to, Jack said, and cut the line. Seraxa watched him from the co-pilot seat. You have given up much. Jack shrugged. It's not the first time. The engines hummed beneath them, and the ship began to rise from the docking clamps. Behind them, alarms started to blare. Fighters scrambled from the station's upper deck. Patrols moved into intercept formation. Jack looked to Seraxa. You ready? Her voice was calm. I was born for war, but this time, I would rather choose peace. Good, Jack said. Hold on tight. They punched through the outer ring of port halos, Jack weaving between defense drones and scanner pings like a man born for trouble. The doghouse wasn't fast, but it was unpredictable, an old warship disguised as junk. It took hits, groaned, and kept going. By the time the patrols got organized, the ship was already in fold space, destination locked. Coordinates, Tyrol, the Ghost World, the Grave of Empires, and perhaps, if they succeeded, the place where the past would finally stay buried. The descent to Tyrol. Tyrol appeared on the nav screen like a bruise across the stars. The once thriving Threx homeworld now lay shrouded in permanent storm cover, its surface blackened by orbital bombardments and tectonic collapse. The AI satellites once programmed to fire on approaching vessels were long dead. Nothing remained to defend the grave, except the memory of what had been. Inside the doghouse, Jack Reeve sat in the pilot's chair, frowning at the readouts. Planetary atmospheres unstable. Radiation pockets. Electromagnetic spikes. All the stuff that screams, "Don't land here." Seraxa stood behind him, one hand resting on the cold vault that held the Heart of Threx. She didn't flinch. "There's a landing corridor through the northern canyon. It was hidden during the war. You sure it's still intact?" "No," she said, "but it is where I buried the Heart's key." Jack sighed and pulled the controls gently to starboard. "All right then, let's go grave digging." They broke atmosphere amid roaring storms and shearing wind currents. Black lightning rippled across the sky, trailing blue fire down ruined mountain spines. The ship rattled and groaned, warning lights flickering like nervous eyes. "Welcome to scenic Tyrol," Jack muttered. "No oxygen, no sunlight, no refund." "Altitude stabilizers," Seraxa ordered, pointing. "The canyon bends hard east just below." He adjusted, engines screaming in protest as the dughouse dropped into a narrow rift carved through obsidian rock. Down below, carved into the mountainside like a scar, lay an ancient Threx structure. Its towers had long since collapsed, but its core remained buried. Fortress, temple, data vault, and the final resting place of an empire's ghost. They touched down on a fractured landing pad coated in ashen glass. Jack shut off the engines, the sudden silence inside the cockpit almost deafening. "You okay?" he asked. Seraxa didn't answer. Her violet eyes were fixed on the world outside. "This is the first time I've returned since the purge," she said. "The ground still smells of death." Jack checked his pistol. "Then let's not stay long." They exited the ship slowly, stepping into wind so dry it felt like it was trying to strip the skin from their bones. Jack's suit adapted quickly, filtering radiation, adjusting balance. Seraxa didn't wear a suit. She didn't need one. Threx augmentation, designed to survive where life was meant to end. As they approached the ruins, a low vibration hummed under their boots. Jack frowned. "I thought this place was dead." "It was," Seraxa said. Then the ground ahead cracked, and something erupted from the stone, sleek, sharp, and alive. A sentinel. Jack swore and dove to cover as the towering construct rose from its dormant burial. It was vaguely humanoid, built of black alloy and blue energy veins, armed with 2 plasma spears and a cannon mounted on its back. "What the hell is that?" "Ancient Guardian," Seraxa shouted. "They were left to protect the vault from looters." "Well, we tripped the alarm." The sentinel scanned them, then spoke in a language Jack didn't understand. Deep, glitching Threx binary tones. Seraxa stepped forward. "This is Seraxa of the High Blade," she declared in the old tongue. "I come to end the code. Let me pass." The machine paused, then surged forward. Jack raised his pistol and fired a burst. The round sparked off the armor uselessly. Guess it didn't by the speech. Seraxa moved. Fast. Too fast for Jack's eyes to follow. She ducked under the sentinel's fur swing, drove her hand into the side of its core, and released a pulse of raw kinetic energy that tore through its arm. The machine staggered, rebalanced, then launched a cannon blast toward Jack. He rolled behind a half-buried column just in time. "Tell me you've got a shutdown code," he yelled. "I was a shutdown code," she shouted back, dodging another strike. "But it no longer recognizes me." Jack peeked out and fired a shot at the cannon's joint. This time, it sparked and jammed. "I got its weapon arm." Seraxa leapt onto the sentinel's back and jammed her palm into the neural link socket behind its skull. For a moment, her eyes flared brighter, lines glowing down her neck and spine. The machine seized, then crumpled. Dust settled. Jack coughed and stood. "You good?" "Yes," she said, stepping off the fallen guardian. "But there may be more." Jack rubbed his shoulder. "If there are, let's hope they are dumber than this one." They entered the vault through a pressure-sealed tunnel, lit only by flickering old Threx glyphs. At the center stood a pedestal of dark crystal. Upon it, a cradle designed to house the heart. Seraxa removed the compact black case and stepped forward. Jack stayed back. "This is it?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "If I insert the heart into the core, it will begin the activation cycle. Within minutes, it will replicate the Empire's AI network. The codes will seek targets. Rebuild military patterns. Reopen old wars. Jack stared at her. Then don't. Seraxa looked at the heart. Then back at him. I want to, she said softly. Part of me. The part that lost everything. She held it above the pedestal. Jack stepped closer. But the part of you sitting in that bar. The one who stayed silent, not because she was afraid to fight, but because she was tired of fighting. That part didn't come here to rebuild anything. She looked down at the device. This was my legacy. No, Jack said. It was your leash. For the first time, her hand trembled. Then, slowly, she turned and walked to the far edge of the room, where a drop shaft led into molten rock. She opened the case, held the heart above the abyss, and let go. They watched it fall into darkness. No explosion, no flash, just silence and release. The heart of the Empire. For the first time in years, Seraxa felt weightless. As the Heart of Threx vanished into the abyss below, something shifted inside her. Not relief, not victory, just silence. The silence she'd feared for so long. The silence of after. Jack watched her, wary but quiet, not stepping closer. He knew better than to crowd someone in the middle of shedding centuries. She turned toward him. Her violet eyes had dimmed slightly, as if some deep pressure had released. It's done, she said. Jack nodded. You all right? I don't know, she answered honestly. For so long, this decision was the only thing I had left. Now that it's made, I don't know who I am. Jack smiled gently. Welcome to being human. The two made their way back through the vault, Seraxa leading them through a secondary tunnel to avoid potential reactivation zones. The ruined hallways echoed with memories. The sound of footsteps long gone, orders shouted into silence, blood spilled on honorless floors. Every corner they turned felt like unwrapping the bandages of a deep wound. And still, she walked forward. When they emerged into the open air, the storms had intensified. Lightning clawed across the sky like angry memories refusing to die. Jack checked the scanner on his wrist. We've got a problem. Seraxa raised an eyebrow. Larger than resurrecting an empire. Depends how you feel about being hunted, he said. We've got 3 heat signatures incoming. Ships. Fast ones. She stepped beside him and read the display. Council hunters. Assault class interceptors. Armed. Guess Rook didn't take kindly to us ignoring his warning. Can we outrun them? Jack smirked. The doghouse wasn't built to run. She was built to bite. They sprinted toward the landing pad, boots crunching over black ash. Jack activated the remote lift and the ramp hissed open. The first interceptor dropped through the clouds above them, its spotlight sweeping the landscape like a hungry eye. Go! Jack shouted, firing 2 pulse shots at the advancing silhouette. The shots sizzled off the ship's shielding, but it gave Seraxa enough time to climb aboard. Jack dove in behind her just as the second interceptor descended with a shriek of energy. Inside, he slammed the hatch shut and threw himself into the pilot's seat. Strap in, he barked. Seraxa took the co-pilot's chair without a word. As the doghouse lifted off, the canyon lit up with blaster fire. Council ships circled like vultures, locking on from 3 angles. Evasive maneuvers, Seraxa said calmly. You giving orders now? She glanced at him. Merely suggestions. Jack yanked the controls hard to port, flipping the ship into a dive between 2 jagged peaks. A blast sizzled past them, missing the hull by inches. Shields holding, Jack said. For now. Return fire. Jack looked at her. You tell me. You want to kill Council soldiers on top of everything else. She didn't hesitate. No. Jack flipped a switch. Then let's fly like we mean it. He dropped a cloud of ion flays and punched the thrusters, diving low through the canyon like a knife through bone. The interceptors followed, but not with confidence. None of them knew the terrain like Seraxa. Head north, she said, through the Fracture Valley. There's a magnetic fault line that will confuse their targeting systems. Jack grinned. Now you're speaking my language. They cut through the valley just as the fault line lit up with magnetic interference. One interceptor lost control and clipped a rock spire, spiraling into the storm. The others pulled back, regrouping above the clouds. We've got one shot, Jack muttered, before they come down harder. He angled the ship upward and launched skyward at full thrust. The hull groaned. The power core vibrated. But they broke through. They reached orbit just as the third interceptor came up behind them, locking missiles. "Jack," Seraxa said, quiet but firm. "I see it." The targeting alarm shrieked. Seraxa reached toward the console, opening a hidden panel Jack had never noticed. "What are you?" She pressed a series of ancient Threx runes. The console lit with gold. "What did you just do?" Jack asked. She didn't answer, just pointed. Outside the viewport, a shape shimmered into existence. A Threx satellite platform, long dormant, now awake. It hovered above the planet like a silent god. The interceptor's systems went dark. Engines died. Weapons powered down. And then the Council ship began to drift. Jack stared. "You had a failsafe up here." "No," she said. "The Heart was never the only legacy, just the most dangerous one. I awakened this to buy us time, not to destroy." She keyed another command. The platform vanished, cloaked once more. Jack shook his head. "You are full of surprises." She looked at him. "Would you have still trusted me if I told you everything?" "Probably not," he said, "but I'd have followed you anyway." They jumped to Fold space minutes later, leaving Tyrell behind for the last time. Inside the ship, quiet returned. The kind of quiet that wasn't heavy this time. Seraxa unfastened her seat harness and turned to him. "Thank you," she said. Jack leaned back. "For what?" "For standing between me and the galaxy. For refusing to flinch." He smiled. "That's what we do. Humanity's too stubborn to flinch." She tilted her head. "There's more power in that than any empire I've known." Jack didn't answer. He didn't need to. They both sat in silence, watching the stars streak past. The war was over. Not just the one that scorched planets, but the one inside her. And for the first time since her creation, Seraxa didn't feel like a weapon. She felt free, the woman and the man. Port Halos hadn't changed much. Same blinking corridor lights. Same half-broken vending machines. Same guards pretending to be busy. But this time, no one cleared the way for Seraxa. No one stared. No one flinched. They watched, yes, cautiously, but without panic. Without the dread that had once followed her like a shadow. Jack Reeve walked beside her, hands in his jacket pockets like it didn't just fly through a storm of Council interceptors, bury a doomsday device, and survive an orbital standoff with military drones. Seraxa wore no armor now. No weapon, no cloak, no mask. Just herself. That alone made her feel more dangerous than she had ever been. They returned to the Winking Star Tavern on foot. It was late cycle, quiet inside. Only a few patrons lingered. A pair of Andori engineers playing holochess, a sleeping bartender, and a three-eyed diplomat nursing something bright blue. The bar was silent for a heartbeat as they walked in. Then, slowly, the silence softened. One of the Andori glanced up and gave a cautious nod. The bartender, half asleep, raised a brow and poured 2 drinks without being asked. Jack looked at Seraxa. "See? Told you they'd come around." "They are afraid," she said quietly. "No," he replied. "They are watching." "That's different." They took their usual booth in the back, the same table where it had all started. Same cracked table edge, same flickering light above. Only now, something fundamental had shifted. Seraxa sat without hesitation. Jack set the drinks down. "To dead empires," he said, raising his glass. She looked at him, and to the fools who bury them. They drank. Word had spread, not through official channels. Those were still tangled in red tape and diplomatic denials, but through whispers, logs, anonymous leaks. A human pilot had flown with the Crimson Spectre, had stood beside her while she destroyed the last relic of her people's power, had come back alive. Some called it propaganda, some called it proof, but everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy would never look at humans, or Seraxa, the same way again. Jack leaned back in the booth, watching her study the bar with quiet curiosity. "You ever think about what comes next?" he asked. Seraxa didn't answer right away. "I was designed with a purpose. Then I outlived it. Now I have no mission, no directive, Only choice. She turned toward him. That is a frightening thing. Jack chuckled. Yeah, welcome to the club. I do not know what I am without war, she admitted. He shrugged. You're the one who ended it. That's a good place to start. She watched him for a long moment. Then, softly, you changed the way I see your kind. Jack raised an eyebrow. You mean humans? She nodded. I thought your species was chaotic, reckless, prone to sentiment. You're not wrong. And yet, it was those same flaws that allowed you to sit at my table when no one else would. Jack's smile faded, just slightly. Truth is, he said, I didn't sit down because I thought I could save you. I sat down because I recognized that look in your eyes. What look? The one that says, I'm still here, but I don't know why. She blinked. Her voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. I did not think anyone could see that. Jack raised his glass again. I did, and I'm glad I did. Hours passed. The bar slowly emptied. Jack paid the tab and stood, stretching. So, what now? Seraxa stood as well. I do not know. Want to find out? She hesitated. You would let me travel with you. He tilted his head. You saved my life. You didn't kill me even when I told the worst toaster joke in the galaxy. You buried a weapon instead of using it. So yeah, I'd say you earned a co-pilot seat. A faint twitch touched the corner of her mouth. Not quite a smile, but close. Outside the bar, the station's overhead lights dimmed into night cycle. The corridor hummed with soft ambient music and the faint sound of ships docking in distant hangars. As they walked back toward the doghouse, Seraxa paused. She looked through a wide viewport where the stars glittered beyond the security shield. For the first time, they didn't look cold to her. They looked open. Jack stood beside her. I used to think the galaxy was too big to change, she said. And now, I met a human who proved otherwise. Jack gave a quiet snort. I met a war machine who turned out to be more human than half the people I've ever known. She turned toward him. Then perhaps there's hope yet. More than hope, Jack said. There's choice. Seraxa looked down the corridor, toward the unknown. I would like to see where it goes. He smiled. Then let's fly. Together, they walked forward. One human, one X-weapon, and not a soul in the galaxy willing to bet against them now.